Mysterious creatures have penetrated the Earth. Parasites whose only task is the destruction of humanity. They eat the brain, and then replace the head with themselves, and control the body. This is how they can feed on other people. Some parasites eat the families and friends of their hosts. Izumi, Shinichi was lucky when the parasite tried to get into his head. He listened to music on headphones, then the parasite tried to get into the brain through the circulatory system through the hand, but Shinichi pulled it with a wire from the headphones. The little snake had to stay in his hand. Izumi tried to tell his parents everything, but they did not believe him in the morning. When he went down to breakfast, his hand seemed to have gone numb, and on the way to school it completely began to live a life of its own. He grabbed his classmate Satomi Murana by the chest.
Я ничего такого не хотел!
Придурок!
Which made her terribly offended. I didn't want anything like that. Then something completely girl. By stopping a car that almost not crushed at home, he decided to check if the hand really belonged to him. And when he was about to plunge a knife into it, it turned into a shapeless talking creature. It still didn't speak well, so Shinichi couldn't question it after that. His appetite woke up, although he had eaten little before his parents even decided that he was sick. Meanwhile, dismembered corpses began to be found in the city. The maniac who did this was called a butcher killer. In the morning, Shinichi woke up and saw how his right hand turned into a parasite and was studying books. He said that he had to absorb Izumi's brain but couldn't. Now he had already grown up and would have to live in the place of his right hand on the way to school. The parasite felt another representative of its species. Despite Shinichi's protests, he insisted that they find it. Another parasite ended up in the body of a dog, and it attacked Izumi. His right hand had to kill this creature. Meanwhile, parasites capture more and more people. One of them saved a girl from rapists, and when they caught up with him to take revenge, he killed them, and the saved girl at the same time. In physical education, Shinichi made peace with Murana, and Nagai didn't like it. He wanted to date her. So he decided to deal with Izumi. Naga began to beat him, and Shinichi's right hand answered him. Yes, so that the boy ran away in fear. Now the parasite calls itself Miji, which means right hand. When he and Shinichi find themselves on a busy street, Miji feel that they are being watched. They go to a vacant lot, and the pursuer comes here. Seeing that Miji did not capture the host's head, he offers to become part of his body so they will become stronger and live longer. But Miji refuses. He is not sure that he will be able to take root in a new body, and without the host he will not survive. Miji cuts off the head of his enemy, and he dies after this incident. Izumi went to a cafe with Muran, and on the way back they saw hooligans bullying a kitten. Shinichi freed the unfortunate animal, and drove away the boys. In Muran's eyes, he became a hero. Take care that same night, Ryoko Tamaya and Mr. Conceived a child. Their bodies were also taken over by parasites. Izumi is worried that he cannot tell anyone about what happened to him. In addition, he and Mig know that the butcher killer is an alien parasite. Meanwhile, Shinichi's parents begin to suspect that something is wrong with Izumi. It is as if he has changed, become somehow different on the way to school. Miji senses a very strong parasite when they come to school. They are told that there is a new teacher at school, Ryoko Tamaya. Shinichi understands that she is the parasite they sensed, but also Ryoko notices Shinichi. After lessons, Tamaya invites Izumi to the teacher's room for a conversation. She notices Miji and decides that this is a rather unusual symbiosis of a parasite and a human. Ryoko makes an appointment with Shinichi outside the school. There they can calmly talk. Tamaya comes to meet with Mr. He doesn't like Shinichi. He thinks that he should be killed, and at the same time Miji, since he was unable to capture the host's head when Izumi came to school again. Mr. A showed up there. Miji felt that he came for them. The principal announced an evacuation of schoolchildren due to an outsider in the building. Mr. A had already killed several teachers. Miji wanted to hide behind other students, and then while Mr. A was busy destroying them, kill him himself, but Shinichi was against it. He ran into an empty corridor and barricaded himself there. They and Miji made a new battle plan. In this case, Izumi would have to help the parasite for this. Miji cut off leg of the chair and gave it to Shinichi as a weapon. Master A jumped into the corridor from the lower floor inside the barricades created by Izumi. Both of them had nowhere to run. The limited space played into Shinichi's hands, while Miji fought with Master A. Izumi slowly advanced. He hid the leg of the chair in his pant leg, and when they came within strike distance, Shinichi thrust the weapon into the chest of his opponent. Master A did not expect such a turn. He began to bleed, and so that his body would not die, he pushed the leg further and ran away. Shinichi did not follow him. He did not want to become a murderer. Master A could not believe that some man had killed him. He needed to move into a new body to survive. He found the laboratory where Ryoko Tamaya was hiding at that moment. But when he entered, Tamaya jumped out of the window, blowing up oxygen tanks. Soon after this incident, life returned to normal at school. They found out that Ryoko was expecting a child and called for a talk. She did not want to answer colleagues' questions, and therefore simply quit after leaving school. She intended to finish off Shinichi because she no longer had to hide. However, after talking to him, she changed her mind. She was sure that Izumi was changing due to symbiosis with the parasite and wanted to see what this would lead to. When Ryoko returned home, her mother Tammy came to her trying to deceive her, but the woman realized that in front of her was not her daughter. Ryoko had to kill her. Shinichi's parents decided to go on a vacation in nature. Izumi was against it, because if he was not nearby, someone from Parasytes will be able to kill them. But Miji advised him to let them go far from big cities. There is less likelihood of a parasite attack. Then Shinichi told his parents that he would not object if they left, and they went on vacation. A car with a man and a woman is driving along a country road. The man gets distracted and gets into an accident. His companion was not wearing a seatbelt and flew out through the windshield, and he remained relatively unharmed. It turned out that the woman was a parasite. When her body died, she cut off the man's head and took his body. But it was difficult to control him. The parasite needed a female body, which was more accustomed to controlling. On the way home, Shinichi saw Nagai being beaten in a gateway. He stood up for him. However, Miji was sleeping at that moment, and Azuma had to deal with the hooligans himself. They beat him too, but he did not leave. Then Kanamishima, who was here, she told her friends to leave him. She looked into Shinichi's eyes and saw there something frightening, because Izumi stood up for his leg and the school began to respect him. But the guys from the Mitsuha gang decided to teach him a lesson for this act. They grabbed Murin and began to beat Shinichi. When he tried to free her, Miji was ready to intervene and kill the hooligans, but Izumi held him back. Nagai and the guys from the school helped him. They taught the scoundrels a lesson. After that, Kana came to talk to Shinichi. She began to suspect that he was hiding something. Miji said that Kana felt the parasite, looking for a woman's body to move into it. Found a married couple. They turned out to be Shinichi's parents. That his father survived.
Что?
The clash with the parasite. He managed to call his son and tell him that his mother had become a monster. After some time, Nabuka returned home, but Shinichi refused to believe that his mother was captured by a parasite. She took advantage of this and pierced his chest. Miji had to move into the body of Izumi to heal his wound. After waking up, Shinichi felt that he had become different. His vision had improved and he felt differently. Miji had also changed. Now he needs to sleep 4 hours a day. This is the only way he can fully restore his strength. Shinichi received a call from the hospital and was told that his father was alive. Izumi got ready and went to him. A local girl told him the way to the hospital. Her mother rented out rooms for guests, and Shinichi stayed with them. His father was convinced that the monster that killed his wife had appeared to him. In fact, Nabuka was alive because she had been seen at the hotel where the couple were staying. However, Shinichi knew who his mother had become, so he decided to keep watch outside his father's hospital so that she would not kill him and she would come for him. And Zumi was sure, and at that moment he wanted to destroy the monster that killed his mother. Finally, Miji felt the parasite nearby, and Shinichi rushed after it. He became stronger and faster. He even managed to jump over a high wall on the beach, and at that moment Miji realized that somehow he had changed his host Izumi. Shinichi was sure that on the beach there Shinichi was sure that on the beach there was a parasite that had taken the body of his mother. He wanted to finish him off, but he was mistaken. Izumi met a man named Mamoru Uda. He, like Shinichi himself, was a carrier of the parasite, only it occupied part of his body and head but did not touch his brain. The parasite attacked him when Mamoru was in despair and wanted to part with life. He fell off a cliff and had to save the creature that had entered his body. Because of this, it did not have time to eat his brain. Izumi and Mamoru did not fight because they very similar. Shinichi even told his new acquaintance his story, and Uda promised to help. He lives not far from the hospital where Izumi's father is, and if his mother's killer appears there, Uda will tell Shinichi about it. When Izumi and Miji were left alone, The parasite told how it changed the host's body. To heal his wounds, it divided into tiniest particles, and they spread throughout the whole body. They could not return back. Because of this, Shinichi became so strong and fast. He ceased to be himself. Some part of him was replaced by Miji's molecules. Mamoru Uda really discovered the parasite that killed Izumi's mother. He told Shinichi about it, and they ran to the agreed place. However, Miji fell asleep on the way, leaving Izumi the blade as a weapon. But he still could not kill his mother. He loved her too much and was afraid of harming her body. He was helped Mamoru a minute earlier. He had fought with Parasyte, and she wounded him. Now he hit her from behind and cut off her head. After that, Shinichi returned home with his father. At the same time, Tamaya Ryoku asked one of her brothers to keep an eye on him. She is interested in how Shinichi's body develops in symbiosis. Miji. But Izumi is being watched not only by Ryoko's friend. He is also of interest to Kana. She feels him, and cannot explain this ability of hers. Kana's friend Mitsuha is secretly in love with her. He notices that Kana pays a lot of attention to Shinichi, and decides to deal with him. He had already beaten him once, but this time it didn't work. Izumi became stronger, and easily defeated the enemy at that moment. They were noticed by Satomi Murana. Shinichi invited her to go for a walk, but she could not get rid of the thought that he had become different after a trip to the hospital to see his father, and after some time she found proof of this. Izumi felt a puppy that had been hit on the road. It was too late to save him, so he took him in his arms so that the baby would die in peace. Murana was also with him, but when Shinichi threw the puppy in the trash after his death, she realized that in front of her was a stranger. They had a fight, and Izumi realized that he should have acted differently. He buried the puppy under a tree. Soon after that, he met Shimada at school. Hideo. It was him that Ryoka sent to watch over Shinichi. He made it clear that he did not want to kill people. He just needed to study them. Hideo was a handsome man, so the girls immediately liked him, especially Yuko. She began to spy on him secretly, and even drew in her notebook. Kana felt Hideo's presence but could not understand why, because before she had only felt Shinichi. She told him about this ability of hers, and Izumi warned her not to come closer to people if he senses them from a distance. He knew that Kana was catching waves of parasites and they could kill her. However, Kana did not listen to him. She again sensed the presence of the parasite and decided that it was Izumi, but it turned out to be Hideo. At that moment, Mitsuha appeared and stood up for his friend. Hideo had to take him to a deserted place and teach him a lesson. People from the police came to Shinichi's father. They explained to him that he could not tell about the fact that his wife's head was cut off by a parasite, otherwise panic would start. Now the authorities are looking for a way to identify these monsters, and until they find him, he must remain silent. But he did not listen to them, and told his son everything. And Izumi was not surprised. He calmly listened to his father, but did not say a word about the fact that a parasite was also living in his hand. Meanwhile, Yuko began to suspect that something was wrong with Hideo. She followed him, and found out that his inhuman abilities. Yuka guessed that Hideo was a parasite that the police were looking for. Her brother told her about them. He drew a monster based on Shinichi's father's description. However, Yuka was in no hurry to hand over Hyde to the police. At first, she wanted to talk to him. She invited him to meet her in one of the school classrooms, and took acid with her. When Hideo came, he admitted that he was indeed no longer a human being, and then began to turn into a monster. Miji sensed this, and told Shinichi. When Hideo tried to attack you, the acid got on his face and he could not turn back into a human. He wanted to kill Yuko, but the girl escaped through the window and jumped to the ground. The guys noticed her from the sports ground and went to see what was going on. In the corridor, they were met by a teacher, and together they went to Hideo. But he killed everyone. Miji and Shinichi decided that it would be wiser to evacuate the school together with everyone and let the police deal with the monster. But once on the street, Shinichi found out that Murano's class was still in the building. He was scared for his friend and rushed inside. Here, he saw the guys from her class running outside, but Murano was not among them, and Izumi went to look for her. Meanwhile, Hideo was crushing the guys from her class in the hallway. But Murano survived. She was hiding with two classmates. When Shinichi found them, the guys were scared of him and ran away. They decided that he was also a monster since he was not scared of the bloody bodies in the hallway. Hideo was waiting for them around the corner. He finished them off. Izumi grabbed Murano and jumped out the window with her. Once at a safe distance from the school, he left her and decided to act. At that moment, the police entered the school, but Hideo easily killed them. Shinichi understands that Cosvino is to blame for what happened because he knew that Hideo is a parasite and did nothing. They and Mig climb to the roof of a neighboring building, so that Hideo does not smell them and throw a stone at him. It pierces him through, and Hideo dies. The authorities take his body and study it in laboratories after that. They come to the conclusion that even the smallest fragment of the parasite, separated from the rest of the organism, will live for some time. Therefore, it is necessary to give society a way to test people for parasites. They decide to introduce a trend of pulling out each other's hair when they meet if it is a hair of a parasite. It will move, however. This trend turns into a tragedy. A tipsy girl decides to pull out her boyfriend's hair, and he turns out to be a parasite. He has to eat her. Since Kanala sensed Izumi, her abilities have been increasing. Now she sees the same. Has to eat her. Since Kanala sensed Izumi, her abilities have been increasing. Now she sees the same dream every night. She is attacked scary monsters, but Shinichi appears and saves her in real life. Izumi doesn't show any particular interest in her, but he thinks about telling her about Miji. However, Miji is against. He promises to kill Kana if Shinichi lets it out. Meanwhile, the parasites are growing in number. One of them wants to study the capabilities of his body and comes to the Yakuza for this. He kills them all and gets wounded himself but leaves unharmed. Shinichi Murano's relationship is improving. They make peace and start dating at the same time. From time to time, Shinichi's heart hurts. This happens at those moments when he feels strong emotions. At such moments, he becomes human again. Kana sees Izumi and Murano kissing and becomes jealous. She calls him and makes an appointment. Kana wants to prove that she and Izumi are meant for each other. Otherwise, why does she feel him from a distance? Having come to meet Shinichi and Miji, noticed politicians agitating local residents. All politicians were parasites, as well as in real life. Izumi and Miji come to the conclusion that they want to be in power in order to cover their own when they attack people. Shinichi still decides to tell Kana about himself. He invites her to a deserted place, and then, making sure that Miji is asleep, he lays everything out as it is, but Kana does not believe him. She asks to prove that a parasite lives in his hand. Kana is sure that she can distinguish Shinichi from any other person, so she promises that until she receives proof, she will only respond to his waves. But Kana was wrong when Izumi made a new appointment with her. She decided to come to the call of her telepathic sense. She thought that she would meet Shinichi but met a monster. He tried to kill her. Izumi sensed it and came to the rescue, but it was too late. The parasite pierced Kana. Shinichi was in such a rage that he finished him off with his bare hands. The authorities found the remains of this parasite and took it for research. After the funeral on Azuma, Mitsuha attacked. He accused Shinichi of not protecting Kana, and Shinichi hit him in response, and then left. He himself could not understand what he had turned into, but he was definitely no longer a human. After Kana's death, Izumi Shinichi tries to lead a normal life. Classmates are surprised by his composure, but Izumi cannot do otherwise. After all, a parasite has entered his body, which began to change him too. Izumi is being watched by a man hired by Tamaya Ireko. This private detective knows her under another name. Shiro Kuramori films Shinichi on camera and hands in reports to Ryoko. A group of parasites led by Hirakawa entrusted her with surveillance of Izumi because this man interested them very much. In addition to studying human nature and influence of parasites on her, Tamaya is raising her own child. She recently gave birth, but instead of normal upbringing, she
Замолчи.
Kuramori does not see anything strange in Izumi's behavior, but Ryoka insists that he continue the investigation. She hires the guys to beat up Shinichi. Tami hoped that at this moment he would show his abilities, and he easily deals with the hooligans. Kuramori films it on camera in the evening. Izumi goes to the building where Kanu was killed. He wants to understand if he is still able to feel anything. Kuramori comes here. He sees Izumi talking to Mij, and the parasite notices him. He tries to kill the detective, but Shinichi does not let him. Wounded, Kuramori runs away after this incident. Izumi was afraid that the special services might come for him. Then they will lock him in the laboratory and study him as a guinea pig. He wants to find Kuramori and find out who ordered the surveillance of him. After thinking about it, Miji changes his mind about killing Kuramori. He wants to get to those who are behind him through him. Therefore, he and Izumi agree to track him down and catch him. But they need help, therefore they turn to Mamoru, who happily agrees to help them after Miji attacked him. Kuramori met with Ryoko and told her everything he wants to get an explanation from her about what happened. But Tamaya says nothing. She stops their cooperation despite Kuramori's threats. The sight of this wounded man makes her laugh out loud recently. She has become more and more like a human. She has learned to laugh and show other emotions. The next day, Izumi and Mamoru lure Kuramori into a trap. They take him to a deserted place, and here Shinichi tells him his story. He also reveals the secret of Ryoko's identity, says that she is a parasite. Kuramori agrees to remain silent after threats from Miji. He will not tell anyone about Izumi. After Shinichi's meeting with Kuramori, Tamaya called him. She made an appointment and arrived late. Ryoko explained to Izumi that she does not want to harm people. She even began to eat less human flesh. Together with the mayor Hirakawa and the rest of their group, Tamaya tries to find a way to live peacefully, with people noticing changes in Izumi's body. Ryoko provokes him to aggression and then leaves hiding behind the child. She knows that Shinichi will not harm the baby. Kuramori began to follow Tamaya. Ryoko, he and his partner had to split up. He went after Ryoko and his partner after her friend. But he turned out to be a parasite. He was going to have lunch with a girl in the parking lot when he saw another person. He dealt with him. Noticing the disappearance of his partner Kuramori, he turned to Izumi for help. They came to the parking lot and Shinichi felt that a murder had been committed here while they were in the building. A parasite came here to have lunch. He brought with him a girl. Izumi tried to protect her, but the parasite finished his lunch and took on his opponent while the two were fighting. Kuramori was filming everything on camera when Shinichi and Miji dealt with the parasite. Miji concluded that this was the feeding place that Hirakawa and his team had determined, and since they had already invaded the parasite's territory, they could now be hunted. Shinichi was ready to fight them, but Miji was not eager to engage in a fight with such strong opponents. After what happened, Kuramori gave up his idea of exposing parasites. He has a wife and child, and he cannot risk them. He gave the recording of a recent fight to Miji and he destroyed it. Hirakawa's people decide to finish off Izumi, and at the same time Kuramori to eliminate Shinichi. They hire Goto. This parasite is Ryoko's experiment. Several parasites coexist in one human body, which makes Goto an incredibly strong opponent at school. Miji felt the presence of 3 parasites. He did not suspect that they were all in the body of one person. They ran away with Shinichi, but the enemy caught up with them at that moment. Miji was sleeping, and Izumi could not determine whether the parasite in front of him was a person, so he ran away again. He had to run until Miji woke up, and when the parasite caught up with them, they were ready to fight. This creature is called Mickey. One of the parasites in this body is Goto, and he faded into the background, allowing Mika to deal with Shinichi. It was hard for them to fight. Miji could not fully understand Mika's combat tactics, but when he found his weak spot, he struck there. Then he led Izumi into the forest, where they would have a better chance of cutting off Mika's head, and at some point they succeed. However, the place of the head is taken by Goto now. He will control the body. He takes Mika for himself and puts his hands in place. Goto turns out to be too strong an opponent. Shinichi runs away. Goto pursues him, but they manage to get rid of him. Meanwhile, a couple of other parasites kill the Kuramori family. He is desperate, goes to the police to tell about what happened. Moreover, he wants to lay out everything he has learned about the parasites. During this time, Kuramori asks to arrange a meeting with Harama, who is engaged in investigating parasite cases. He writes a report about everything he knows and does not mention Shinichi in it. After finishing, he leaves. Kuramori intends to take revenge on Ryoko for the death of his family, leaving Goto. Izumi calls his father to warn him that he is in danger. A split occurs within the parasite organization. Some of them consider Tamaya Ryoko too human and decide to finish her off, but it turns out to be not so easy to do this. Despite the fact that there are 3 of them, parasites cannot quickly kill Tamaya. She lures them to a construction site and then attacks one of them at the same time. Part of her parasite separates and remains in the enemy's body. She begins to seize control over the body and then gets rid of it, so Tammy manages to deal with 2 parasites. but there is still one left, and Ryoko comes to finish him off personally, having killed him. She takes the part of herself that separated and leaves. A surprise awaits her at home. Detective Kuramori broke into her apartment and stole her child. He left a note in which he indicated the time and place of the meeting. Tammy climbed into Izumi's house, and while she was looking at his childhood photos, Shinichi called to find out how his father was doing. But Ryoko picked up the phone. She invited him to the park where she would meet with Kuramori. Shinichi Murano's relationship was not going well. He had not shown up at school for a long time, and she began to worry about him. Seeing Izumi on the bus, Murano followed him and ended up in the park. The police, led by Hirama, also went there. They visited Ryoku's home and found Kuramori's note there. Meanwhile, Tamaya had already met with the detective when he pretended to want to harm her child. Ryoko killed him. She became human-like and even protected her child from danger. Although Kuramori had no intention of harming him taking the child, Tamaya left. Kuramori was found by the police before his death. He managed to describe Ryoku's appearance but never told about Shinichi. Hirama went to chase Tamaya. Izumi met Ryoka in the park. She seemed cold and unfeeling to him, but it was not so. She shared with Shinichi her theory about parasites. Tammy is sure that these creatures are the product of the human race. Moreover, they need each other. Hirama and his people intervene in their conversation after making sure that Izumi is not a parasite. He attacks Tamaya. She does not resist while they shoot at her. Treku protects the baby and then gives him to Shinichi and asks to take care of him. Having given the child, Tamaya died at that moment. Something changed in Izuma. He began to feel again, became human again. At the sound of the shot, Murano came running. Only when she saw Shinichi, she realized that he had become the same. From that moment they were together again. When it was all over, Izumi began to be dragged under the interrogation of Hiram. Suspected that a parasite lived in him, so he wanted to bring Shinichi to clean water. He brought Yurigami from prison. This maniac had the ability to recognize parasites. When Izumi Yurigami appeared in front of him, he perked up and demanded that Shinichi look him straight in the eyes. When a maniac named Yurigami was put in front of Izumi Shinichi, and he demanded to look him in the eyes, and Izumi got scared. He was sure that Yurigami would see a parasite in him, but he could not. The criminal only thought for a second that there was something strange in Shinichi at that moment. Miji was sleeping, so he could not see a parasite in Izumi. This maniac had learned to understand people so well because he had seen their true emotions too often before death. Soon he began to notice the parasites that ate people. He was caught thanks to these monsters. Yurigami went to look at the corpse left by the parasite, and here he was caught by the police. Despite the fact that the maniac did not see anything unusual in Shinichi, Hirama did not calm down. He still believed that this schoolboy was hiding something, but he could not prove it, so he let Izumi go. Soon it was decided to cleanse the city hall of parasites. For these purposes, a man named Yamagi was brought in. He will command the operation. Hirama advises him to use the abilities of the Urigams to identify parasites. In addition, he asks Shinichi to help. Hirama is sure that without him the cleansing operation will fail, and Izumi agrees. They discussed with Mig ways to kill Goto, that strong mutant in whose body 5 parasites live. Then they decided to use fire to scare Goto and weaken him. Therefore Shinichi advised Hirama and Yamagi use flamethrowers, but they took his words lightly. After careful preparation, the mayor's office was surrounded by special forces. They began to take people out in small groups through special equipment, and in the first group they spotted a parasite. The soldiers killed her. Mayor Hirakawa found out about this and tried to take the parasites to another room, but the soldiers did not let him. People continued to leave the building, but confusion began in the crowd, and the special forces trying to kill the parasite damaged the recognition system of these creatures. They had to bring in Urigams to work. He pointed the special forces to the monsters, and they opened fire in the process. Ordinary people also died. The parasites tried to escape, covering themselves with the bodies of people, and they were
Стоять!
Yamagishi also joined the cleanup. He entered the building and went in search of the mayor and his associates. Hirakawa, like Goto, was in a hurry to leave the building, wanted to study combat tactics. This way he will be able to better resist the attackers. Yamagisha splits the Uragami Yamagi leaves with an operative named Katsumata. Uragami Yamagi himself learned to determine where a person is and where a parasite is. Uragami meets Gota and runs away in horror from what he saw, and Gota kills all the special forces. At the same time, he uses their own weapons, returning all the bullets fired at him. The shots do not harm him. Having dealt with the soldiers, he goes off to look for the rest of the soldiers, and they at that moment go out to the conference room, where Mayor Hirakawa is waiting for them. He has prepared a whole speech for the soldiers and for those who sent them. Hirakawa is sure that humanity has become too harmful to the planet. There are a lot of people now, and therefore it is necessary to reduce their number. And for this, parasites are needed. They reduce the population unnoticed. However, the speech was not successful. Hirakawa was shot, and it turned out that he was a human. At the same time, he collaborated with parasites and spoke out against people. When he was killed, Gota entered the room and dealt with the special forces. Then Uragami and Katsumata came here. The criminal took a weapon and finished off the policeman, when Katsumata lost his vigilance. After that, Uragami escaped. Meanwhile, Miji persuades Shinichi to go home. They are no longer needed here because Yamaga and his people are using all possible weapons. But neither Yamaga's strategy nor his weapons can eliminate Goto. The parasite drives him onto the roof, where they enter into an open confrontation with him. Goto cuts off Yamaga's head and throws it down. At that moment, Izumi is here, but Goto does not intend to fight him. He is too tired and received several wounds, so he just leaves. After this incident, Shinichi begins to be afraid of Goto. He does not want to die, but if he meets Goto again, he will definitely kill him. When Miji falls asleep, Izumi becomes paranoid. He sees Goto everywhere. Because of this, he even got into a fight with a couple of hooligans, whom he accidentally pushed on the street. Izumi began to realize that he is no better than the others, since he is so afraid of death, and even thinks about running away for his own save. In the evening, he met Satomi Murano, and she invited him to visit to give herself to him. After that, Shinichi admitted that he loves her, having improved his health after the fight at the city hall. Goto tracks down Shinichi. Miji senses him and takes Izumi away. They steal a car and drive into the city. Here, they cause an accident trying to hit Goto's car with their own car, but he survives and attacks. Miji and Shinichi have to run away into the forest, having racked their brains. Miji suggests splitting up so they will be able to deceive Goto and attack him from both sides. Miji will attract his attention. Shinichi will hit him from behind using fire to set the stick on fire. They took a lighter from a stolen car. However, Miji's plan failed when Izumi attacked Goto. He really lost control of himself, but Miji was unable to cut off his head. He understood that Goto would finish them off. So he forced Shinichi to run away. Before that, Goto managed to wound him, and Izumi did not want to abandon his friend. But still he had to run away. In the evening, he went to the house of an old woman named Mitsuyo. He wanted to drink water, but the old woman invited him inside and fed him. She realized that Izumi was in trouble and did not wish her harm. After dinner, Mitsuyo left Shinichi at her to spend the night, and in the morning she took her to work. On the way, they passed by a landfill. Masuo complained that they had started to bring garbage to their houses without permission. However, people can do nothing about it. At night, Izumi saw in a dream particles of Miji, which tried to interact with him when he woke up. They were even able to form an eye on his hand but did not possess their own consciousness. In the morning, local residents came to Mitsuyu with a complaint. One of them was killed in the forest by some monster, and they thought that Izumi was involved in this. A friend of the deceased acquitted Shinichi, but he realized that it was Goto who had come, and Izumi decided that he would fight him, so that no one else would get hurt. When he left the house, Mitsu, the old woman, gave him an old crusher with which to fight. Shinichi came to the forest and found Goto sleeping. He also needs rest, and at this moment he can be hurt. Izumi chooses the most unprotected place in his opinion, and hits him in the neck with a vice. Goto wakes up from the blow and attacks Shinichi. He comes up with a new plan, according to which the enemy must be impaled with a wooden stake, then he will be able to damage his internal organs. But this attack fails, and Goto throws Shinichi into the dump.
Но идти с этим на меня смешно.
But going at me with this is ridiculous. Here he understands that he can hit the parasite with an iron found in a pile of garbage. Having dealt this blow, Izumi ran away, but Goto found him. Parts of his body belonging to other parasites began to rebel against him, but Gota managed to pacify them. He was preparing to attack Shinichi, and he calmly awaited his death, but when Goto attacked Izumi, defended himself with what was left of his right hand. At that moment Miji joined him. He was inside Goto all this time, but thanks to the blow with that iron managed to disconnect from him. Along with the blow, a toxin was introduced into Gota's body, due to which he lost control over the rest of the parasites in this state. It turned out to be much easier to defeat him. Mi dealt with him, but then he noticed how Gota was trying to restore his body. Shinichi did not allow him. He finished off the parasite using Mitsuyo's T-sack. Then he took the weapon to her house, and the old woman realized that Izumi had defeated. Shinichi returned to his normal life. He graduated from high school and tried to enter a university, but he failed, and now he was preparing to take the entrance exams again one day. Miji told him that he had to go into a long hibernation. Perhaps he would never show himself again, but Shinichi would return his right hand in its previous form. The parasites began to show themselves. Les and Zumi no longer heard about half-eaten people or other strange murders, or maybe such incidents were drowned in a large number of other crimes. Shinichi and Murana continued to meet one time. When they were walking around the city, Izumi noticed that they were being followed by Uragami. He grabbed Murana and dragged her to the roof of the building. Shinichi hurried to her aid, but when he rushed to save her, Uragami threw Murana off the roof. Izumi managed to neutralize the enemy, but it seemed to him that he lost Satomi. At that moment, Miji came to his aid. He grabbed the girl at the last moment, and Shinichi dragged her up.